So our next teacher that's coming in is Monique Verpoort, and she is a registered social is registered social worker, trainer, author. She does EFT tapping. We're going to be talking about that. She's a certified practitioner in emotional freedom technique. She works with both clients, professionals, and on a personal work, helping people personally, and just in all the different areas of their life, and how they can bring EFT into it, and how they can make a lot of positive, transformational, joyful change.
Yes, and create more creativity.
And more creativity. Seems to be like creativity is this is the second part of our IAUSM launch today, is all about creativity, which is so amazing. So, hey, Monique, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. This has been excellent. I just want to say that I am so inspired by everybody, and I'm taking notes madly because I'm thinking, oh, I want to connect with that person. I want to connect with that person. So this is really wonderful. And everything is like interweaving together, and it's beautiful.
Thank you for saying that. So like, it's really great for a person who is running their business as well, because you're going to connect with so many others. I think the sad part when I first got into working spiritually and holistically years ago was that I thought that it was already a collaborative community. And I was sad to find out that it wasn't. And a lot of the healers, people would call themselves healers, coaches, I'm not afraid to say it, were very much still living in that fear-based place. And the idea of referring out to others was just like something, well, no, what happens if they take my client, right? So there was still that feeling back then. And I don't think we were ready yet to collaborate in a way like this that we're doing now. And, I'm so glad that we've all grown, because I was very sad about it. I thought, wow, that was really what I was hoping for, but I guess it's not that. So, but so is that now. And now years later, I guess the universe has changed and shifted some stuff around. So it is way more like that. And the great thing is we're meeting each other and we're able to, say, oh, you want to work with kids and, and you've got your child has some leadership issues. Well, you want to go talk to Jules or, and so have this way of being able to refer to each other, whereas before we couldn't, and there's no fear in it, which is great.
Absolutely. It's wonderful.
Yeah. There's no fear in it. That's great. I might have to get up soon and close my window because I love my neighbor, but he mows his lawn like every day. So, so hopefully won't get too distracted by it. So you do a great technique that a lot of people always ask for, even when they come to my practice, and I'm not a professional at it, nor have I got certified in it. So I usually have to refer this one out. So that's tapping. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so, what I love about tapping and even these conversations that people are bringing forth, it hits on kind of all these different pieces. And it really is, EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. And so it is, as you said, people refer to it as tapping as well. And the reason we call it techniques is that it's not just the tapping on those meridian points that I'll talk about in a minute, but there are many different techniques within that umbrella of emotional freedom techniques. So if you are a practitioner working with people, there are many different ways that you can use that technique, different techniques to sort of help people with that. So for those of you who don't know, it's a meridian-based therapy. It's under that umbrella of energy psychology. And of course, we have the Chinese civilization and also East Asian civilization to thank for this knowledge that has been around forever and that we are starting to be reintroduced to, or have been over perhaps, the last 3 decades or so. But it is such a powerful modality because it allows us to access our body's energy system through the meridians, which are like energy transporters, if you want to kind of visualize like it. And, we talked about fascia before, or connective tissue. These meridians run throughout our communication, the communication system of the fascia. And we have access to the endpoints of the meridians. There are many, many meridians within the body.
So if we can see fascia.
Mhm.
Can we see meridians?
Well, it's interesting because to date, we haven't really been able to identify meridians. I'm going to put a caveat to that, which is one of the reasons it's very hard for people to swallow. What? You've got these, what? Going through your connective tissue? How can that be? We do know that there was a academic in Korea, a researcher who actually through a method of using, it was a blue dye, was able to identify these meridians in the body. So there's a lot of research on that. And then with acupuncturist and so on, if you look at research for acupuncture, which is basically working with the body's meridians as well, there is a boatload of information on it. So we have lots of evidence to support that we do have these meridians. And we often call EFT acupuncture without needles, you know, because it is a form of acupressure. It's the same idea that as acupuncture, which is, as we know, very widely accepted now versus, you know, many years ago, it was still a pretty novel,
Right.
exotic kind of thing, but it
was woo-woo. It was woo-woo.
It was very woo-woo.
It was very woo-woo.
So, and, you know, so anyway, so that's part of it. And just, you know, so wanting people to know sort of about that our bodies, and someone talked about this, a few people, that we are not just a physical body. We are, you know, we are very complex and we are spiritual beings, as we know, and we're energy beings. So it's about working with the body as the conductor of the life force within us that gets sort of transported through our meridian system. And as I said, we can access it. And it's very exciting when we learn more about why we would even want to do that. What is the benefit? Because there are lots of benefits.
Right. So yeah, you see a lot of people doing it. You know, it's just like, oh, I want more money. You know, and they'll be tapping, or else I want more of this, or I want more of that. And it's just, it's tapping. And so in the courses that you're teaching people of the tapping, what are they hoping, what would a student achieve in that course?
Yeah, so the focus, so it's interesting, you talked about the wanting more money and all that. This is true. People can use it for sort of beliefs around lack, right? So, and, you know, once you can kind of dissolve that, you can start manifesting, think more into your life. But my courses aren't really taking on that focus around the money. My interest has always been mental health or mental wellness. I work as in the children's mental health field for many, many years. And so I really am interested in two things: is alleviating suffering based on sort of these beliefs that really, you know, bring us down in a big way, and also the connection to the spirit. So, you know, in sort of more mainstream kind of therapies, we don't pay a lot of attention to the spiritual aspect of our beings, and we are slowly more being open to what's going on with the body, because we can't disconnect our emotions from our body sensations. So that's I'm hoping that that's the way it's going to go. So with these courses, I'm really focusing on sort of the basics in terms of introducing people to the body as an energy system, introduce them to the different meridian points. They can learn about the benefits of this either as a stress regulation tool. So that is sort of the immediate benefit, is that, you know, when you are in a place of stress or you're not regulated, that you can start to tap on these points, and actually you can bring your nervous system into alignment again. So you can relax the tension in your body. You can just have more access to your thinking brain and the clarity, and just feel a lot better in the moment, right? It really helps with anxiety, nervousness, whatever. And even like, just to give you a concrete example, before it was my turn, I went off camera because I can't sit for that long. And I thought, oh my gosh, I am just going to be like, my energy is going to be in the hole when it's my turn to come on. So, but I went and I did some tapping, and I'd encourage people who are on this call, like, you can start. I'll just move my camera a little bit here. You know, there's points right here at the collarbone. And if you kind of take your fingers and you move them along and you go down about an inch and an inch over, you're going to, you know, you can rub as well. You don't have to tap, but you should feel probably some sensitivity or soreness in those areas. And that means there is blocked energy there. And So, this is often a favorite point for some people, that if they start to tap, or you can do this if you want, or one side or both, it doesn't really matter. But this can start to sort of get that energy flow moving in your body. So, highly recommend it for any kind of situation. You're listening to the news, right? You're getting all revved up. So just like tapping as you're listening, watching a horror movie and you're getting all weirded out, you can be tapping. These are just simple little ways to do it. So the stress management and emotional regulation are really amazing benefits that people can have.
If I do this while I'm talking to my tech team, I could end up bruising myself, I think.
Well, then do it lightly. Do it lightly. Do it lightly. You can actually even do it with your mind, which is really cool. You don't even have to use your fingers, but that's tapping level 3. But anyway, so I'm still talking about level 1 here. So that is part of it. But and to go back to my point about the mental wellness, is that we can really tap through these limiting beliefs, all those beliefs that really keep us down and mired in those low frequency energies. And when we can start to tap, so one thing, let me get back to, when we have experiences in our life, there's situations we come to a conclusion about ourselves based on those experiences. And so often, these beliefs, and they end up becoming well entrenched as beliefs. And often this happens really early on. And each experience, we come to that conclusion because, there are different aspects that are linked to that experience. So I like to give the example of, this is a real life thing, and I think a lot of people can relate to it. As a young child, maybe I was 7 or 8, I'm in class. I'm asked by the teacher to come up and explain a math problem. Okay, so first of all, math, not my forte. And also to be standing in front of 30 classmates trying to explain something and not being able to, and the fear, like that experience for me, that emotion of just fear, and it just kind of stayed in my body, right? My body held on to that. And so, the ramifications years later is that I kind of came to the conclusion as a young child, I'm stupid. That was the belief that I had. And it really informed a lot of my adult experiences well into my life, until I worked with a practitioner and was able to dissolve it. And then woof, it was gone. And I totally did not identify with that part of me. So that's and I'm illustrating that because it's the power of the method. So that's the potential. I mean, it changes people's experiences of themselves, of their lives, of their place in the world, if they see the world as a scary and unsafe place, or a place that's welcoming. And so you can see how it's all interrelated.
It's amazing. Would you consider, so I know your courses. Would you consider, and I'm just asking now, you can say no, but would you, just something that you said earlier on is like, we are doing some focused stuff around children.
Mm-hmm.
We're really going to be focusing on children. And would you consider putting together a course to do EFT to help parents with their children, maybe for kids with their anxiety or their overactiveness, or I don't know, social anxiety or something like that?
Mm-hmm. Well, yes, I would. It would be quite a basic course, because I think really just providing them with the tool and sort of the introduction and how they can tap along with their children as well. Because that's the beauty. You can do it as the caregiver and the child together. And as the caregiver, you can even surrogate for your child, which is very cool as well. So yes, something absolutely I'd be interested in looking into that more, because it's a great tool. My dream is to have, I know in Australia they have, they're more advanced in terms of getting into classrooms, and they have schools where the kids, they start their day off and they're tapping, and what a great way to get regulated from the get-go. So that's really,
we're so Fred Flintstone here sometimes, I think,
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you're right. But that's the dream eventually, because boy, it would change a lot of things for a lot of kids and families. Yeah, for sure.
That's amazing. So, why do you think that it's important? Like, you've gone over a lot of things, but if you were going to pick one thing where you would say it was like so important for people to tap every day,
right?
What would that, why?
Yeah. Okay. Great question. It's if you think of tapping like a energy management routine. So something that over time, when you start to tone the nervous system, because the nervous system, depending, we all have we call it a window of tolerance. So it is sort of how easily you can kind of get derailed by what happens in your life. And for some people, it doesn't take much, because there's, that's just how their nervous systems kind of responds, right? Through life situations over time. So, somebody says something, it can trigger them, and then they're kind of off or whatever. And there's a lot of reasons for that, trauma being a huge part of that. And then there are other people who have a wide window of tolerance where, yeah, you know what, they're just kind of breezing through life. Things happen, they go with the flow. It doesn't take much to kind of get them off kilter. And the wonderful thing with tapping, if you can do it on sort of a daily basis as part of that energy management routine, is you start to enlarge your window of tolerance. So you start to be able to process life in a way that's more manageable. You have a more regulated nervous system. You can just deal with things more clearly. And we know that, when we are stressed out, that we don't have access to our cognitions, right? We are very reactive. The more that we can slow down, take things in without reacting, is that we have more access to the creative part of us, the planning part of us, the seeing possibilities for our lives that we may not have seen before we were in that very sort of tight grip with our fears and anxieties and responding so quickly.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense.
Okay.
Totally makes sense. So I know that I know the topics that you're teaching inside IAUSM, but just for people's curiosity, what are the different things that someone could use EFT for?
Oh, good. Oh my gosh. There is a laundry list from here to the other side of the world. Yeah, it's a great question, because so as I said, the stress piece, but it is great with phobias. So, these instances where as a child, something happened, let's say you were swimming, you almost drowned. Since then you don't want to go in the water anymore, because it's just a subconscious response. It's like a fear-based response. Or you are afraid of elevators because you got stuck in an elevator at one point in your life and you just hate confined spaces. You can actually start to tap on that incident and the aspects of it. And you can neutralize your emotional response to that event that happened in the elevator or in the pool. So you can actually clear that altogether. And I want to give you a great example. I have a friend of mine who, her daughter had a baby, and she and her husband wanted to go back to Ireland to show off the grandchild or the child. And she was just petrified of flying. So this was going to be a real barrier for her. So not that she'd had any real incidences with plane crashes or anything like that, but for her, the thought of being in a confined vessel and if, just not being able to move out of it, it just created so much anxiety and panic for her. And to the point, she couldn't even book her plane ticket. She was just so petrified. So her mom said to me, my daughter's interested in working with you on this. Will you do it? And I said, okay, yeah, absolutely. So within 45 minutes, we were able to tap through all those aspects of that problem. And we tested to make sure that she didn't have an emotional response to any part of her fear, because there were lots of things that were kind of linked to that. And so bottom line, no problem, booked her ticket, got on the plane, had a great time, uneventful flight. So this is how powerful it could be,
That's great. That's amazing. Yeah. That's a great story. Yeah. And so you could use it for just a short list, obviously money, maybe relationships, children.
Anything. Sex. Yeah. Say that again. I missed the last.
Like I have clients that come in and they've got ED.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So male ED, well, females don't get it, but male ED. And it's nothing medical.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Anything, because we know stress is the common denominator in a lot of issues, right? Whether they be health issues or I mean, because we're all interconnected, that when you start to work on one thing, other things kind of come together, right? So yeah, anything that is, and ED, it took me a while to think about what you're saying, but I got it. Is going back to what's behind that, what's driving it, and then when you can kind of work through that, it can clear. So yeah, it's I think the slogan, or the slogan, that's a link between a slogan and anyway, it used to be tap on anything, and people would go, come on, like that's just so not realistic, how can that be? But once again, when we can remove the stress response, the fear. And one thing I do want to say, because I think it's important for people to understand how it works, because we haven't really talked about that. And so just tapping on those endpoints, what it does, it calms the emotional brain, the limbic system, and the amygdala, which is the threat detector. That is, our bodies are always scanning out for threats to our safety, whether we are aware of it or not. So when something, whether it be a thought, whatever that's kind of distressing, that activates our threat response. So when we can kind of think of that thought and we tap at the same time, we're actually sending a message to the brain saying, it's okay, everything's fine, you're safe. And so we take that emotional charge out of that thought. And then when we think of that incident that triggered us in the first place, we don't get triggered anymore because we've removed the associated emotion, highly charged emotion with it.
Right.
So, yeah. So, and I want to give another example to see how this works. A number of years ago, I was in a car accident, and I don't want to trigger anybody here. So if this triggers you, tap, as I'm telling this. But anyway, the good news is we got out of it. The car was totaled, but we walked away, and it was fine. It was fine with us. But I wanted to make sure that there was no remaining sort of adrenaline or fear-based aspects to that incident. So because I know tapping so well, I could do this on my own. I would suggest that for a newbie, this may not be the way to go. But I was able to tap through I had to tap through all the different aspects. It was pouring rain that night. I had to tap through the fact there was pouring rain. I had to tap through the fact that I could hear the crash on metal of the other car. I had to tap on the fact that this other car went through a red light. So I had to tap on all this stuff, and then like from all the senses, right? The sights and the sounds and everything. And then I could sort of drive the next time without having this overriding, hesitancy or fear about getting in the car. So these are just, I'm trying to give some examples so people can start.
That's a powerful example. I think that would be a big worry for people, because once you've had an accident like that, you can't help it, and you want to be able to move on, but then you have these fears. And if tapping is the way that you can get out of it, why wouldn't you do that?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And what else? Boy, there's so many things that you there's so many things. Yeah.
So you're also, for the loot bag, you're giving away a copy of your book. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm giving 50% of the book.
Okay.
This is it. Is this all there is? So talk about color. I love it. It all comes together. It's a book. It's really my target was, and this does not exclude men in any way, but it ties into the conversation about women being overgivers and feeling like they have to do it all and putting themselves last, right? And so it's sort of a tapping book for women. So that they can start to work through those beliefs around how did they come to that I have to do everything on my own, that my value is linked to how everybody around me is feeling and how much I give of myself, and that I don't deserve to put my needs first, and all those socialization issues that we grow up with. And so tapping through those beliefs so that in fact they can pursue their soulful self and really do what they want to do for them and not feel guilt about it.
That's amazing. And I'm just going to say it. That sounds like a course. Just saying.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I'm just saying, putting it out there. All
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for the generous gifts. And thank you for being a part of this. And you've got my mind reeling all kinds of different ways right now. So I love this day. This is such a great day. All these wonderful things that are happening. So thank you so much, Monique. Thank you for all the support that you've also given. You've been there, helping me through this over the last, months that we've been doing this, and just been supportive. So thank you, and supportive of our faculty. And you are actually you're part of the book, the course, right?
The divinity
Divinity course.
Yes.
So you're
Yes,
also
I
one
am.
of the teachers in that, which is amazing too. So there's lots of there's a few other ones that came in today that are part of that course as well. So we've got 12 teachers in that course that's stepping into your divinity, that are all done a lesson in that course. So that's amazing and so exciting. And just, when you sign up for IAUSM, you can just jump right into that course. We have so many courses that are included in your enrollment. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy all that we're doing. It's crazy, but it's so awesome. Like, it's crazy, but it's awesome. So it's insane. So yes, definitely. Thank you so much for everything, Monique. You're amazing.
Okay, you're very welcome.